Welcome to the June 2019 Traffic Commission meeting. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 2019 Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 2 is an informational presentation by Town Engineer Matthew Schuman regarding the installation of speed feedback signs at 205 Common Street and 176 Common Street as part of the Common Street Reconstruction Project.
Hi, thank you for having me here this afternoon. As you guys know, occasionally DPW, some of the other departments like to bring information to the Traffic Commission's attention, more for informational purposes, not necessarily a regulation or something that requires a modification of the traffic rules and ordinances, but just because they're peripheral or related to some traffic issues in town. In this instance, I'm bringing forward the installation of 2 speed feedback signs on Common Street. And these are being installed as part of the Common Street project that everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with. We're putting in the roundabout at Orchard Street, the traffic signal at Spring Street. And as part of the project, we're installing these feedback signs kind of up the hill going towards in the Bellevue Road area. And this came out of the desire, mainly when you're coming down the hill, it's going to be quite a difference when you're going into a roundabout versus what you're going into now, and we want to make sure that we're getting folks to slow down well before they get into the roundabout. So obviously the design of Common Street includes, roundabout ahead signs and other warning signs, but this is to get folks a little bit up the hill before they're starting to really gain the speed in an effort to keep them to keep slow. So what I did is I just in your packet, you should have a little map that shows the approximate locations. We went out there with Sergeant Sampson and our engineer, and we took a look at a couple different spots. We considered things like the ability to put these feedback signs in. I'm sure everyone is familiar with them. We have some up on Orchard Street by the school. I think there's actually there is one on Common Street right now by the market, and it says the speed and it says slow down if you're going too quickly. So we wanted to look to make sure we have good availability of sunlight so we can get some solar panels in there. We want to make sure that we're not impacting the neighbors too much in terms of, right in front of someone's house. We want to make sure that we could maintain ADA access on those sidewalks. So what we came up with is in your packets, and it's as you're coming south down the hill, it's around 176 Common Street. And then if we also decided, we're putting one southbound. There is some speed on the northbound side, even though it's uphill. So we're also adding one northbound, and that'll be around number 205 Common Street. I also sent some supplemental pictures, hopefully you guys got, that just give you an idea of exactly where they're going, so you can see how they fit in with the surrounding properties. With that, I guess if you have any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone questions, comments? Mr. Magoo?
Thank you. Matt, I'm kind of wondering about the northbound one, going up the hill. And I kind of wonder if speed's really much of an issue going uphill. And did you look at all, is there an opportunity before you get to the roundabout on the northbound side that would make sense? Or do you think that's too short a stretch for it to have an impact?
Well, I mean, I'd defer to Sergeant Sampson, put him on the spot regarding actual speeds, but I know that this arose out of our 2016 Public Works Subcommittee meeting where there was a discussion of both the southbound and the northbound. Mm-hmm. When we were out there, we did take a look to try and get before Bellevue Road, but we have some ADA issues. If you look in the picture for the northbound one, you'll see there is a grass border there. Yep. So that allows us to put it in the grass border, whereas as you get south of Bellevue Road, you have I think there is a little bit of a border before it, but then it kind of ends. As well, there's a little bit of a bend in the curve in the street, and there's a lot of trees and other obstructions. So we felt that this was probably the best location for it. As you get to Bellevue, it kind of levels off a little bit at the intersection, then you start going back up.
Well, I was thinking maybe even before you got to the roundabout, between Mount Auburn and Orchard.
Well, that was something that was, discussed way back in the planning process, and I mean, I think the idea was with traffic, we have a traffic signal now at Spring Street. We still gonna have a rectangular rapid flashing beacon going in where the crosswalk is now, and as you approach the roundabout, you are naturally gonna slow down, so we didn't feel that it was really necessary to have one on the northbound direction and as you approach the roundabout.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thanks, Matt. Okay, item number 3 is a request by the town council to look at the advisability of adding a drop-off pickup location on Arlington Street for Philipello Park. I know we have 2 councils here. Does anyone, I mean, typically we get, someone comes in with a design or a phase, but we did look at this location, so I didn't know if anyone wanted to, if you guys had ideas in mind first or no. But I'd just like to preface this first, is that Sergeant Sampson and I both went down there and looked at this location, and I'm going to let Sergeant Sampson speak about an area that we identified. But my problem with this is, I'm not against, I'm for the drop-off and pickup zone, but what I'm concerned about is just that it's on Arlington Street, and it's a busy street. So no matter what we put there, it's a busy street. We deal with the schools every day, and the kids getting out on the street side of the cars, and that's what I see as an issue here. So I just wanted to bring that out. That's kind of my own personal feeling of it right from the start. I know they're looking at different designs down there in the Glen Street Circle, so I didn't know if that could also be, this could be part of that, to look at, that Arlington Street where we could actually just make it more protected. That's, I'm all for the pickup and drop-off zone, but this has kind of been put on the Traffic Commission, I feel like, to come up with a plan, and if that's, we're all okay with that, but what I'm not okay is saying that that's going to be a perfectly safe area, just because I know what that street's like, especially at like 5 o'clock. When people are using that as a cut-through. So with that being said, I just wanted to start with that, and I will turn it over to Sergeant Sampson.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. As you mentioned, I did go down, I assessed the area as well. To keep it simple, there's 2 entrances off Arlington Street into Philipello Park. The south entrance closest to Berkeley Street, and then the north entrance closer to Coolidge Hill Road and the tot lot there in the playground. It seems the most straightforward area to extend a parking restriction and would be on that north side. There is already a restriction 150 feet before Coolidge Hill Road, to Coolidge Hill Road for no parking. If that was extended another 45 feet to the south, it would prohibit all parking in front of that north entrance into the park. But I certainly agree with all of your points about safety. It opens up an area for people to kind of just stop and drop off their children, but we have this issue at all the schools every year. It's kind of echoed that even with crossing guards out there and teachers and whatnot, people always let their children out on the street side, and they all just kind of make a run for it. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable supporting a drop-off in that area. We have the space on the street, but I'm not comfortable with kids jumping out of the cars there into Arlington Street. And I believe there are some draft proposals to restripe Arlington Street, which will include bike lanes and whatnot, but that's going to further narrow the roadway as far as alighting from vehicles there. So can it be done? Yes. I'm not convinced that's a very safe move.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I agree with Chief Lund and Sergeant Sampson regarding the safety of this drop-off spot. I think we're better off, like when we put crosswalks in, we look at a lot of different issues and for feasibility, and there are other areas of the park which might provide a better drop-off area on the backside off of Grove Street, where it's much, much safer, and, you know, even possibly redesigning the Glen Circle area to have that drop-off there. I think those are two safer spots than the spot on Arlington Street also.
Is this 45-foot area here, that's the proposed placement of it, or one of the areas that you'd look at for it?
We received no proposals for this,
Yeah,
Ms. Gallagher. This was just something when I went out and looked at it, and I said, is there any way we can, you know, kind of extend the area so that we could have something close to the entrance? And that's a lot simpler than the south entrance, because then you'd be parallel parking between cars on both sides of that entrance. And, you know, pulling in and out of there as a parent would be difficult, and, you know, Arlington Street's busy enough. So I figured if anything, down on the north side, at least you're pulling into a no parking area, and there's nothing in front of you obstructing you from pulling away from the curb. But I just don't like that as a drop-off area.
Yep, and I agree with the safety factor. Additionally, with that telephone pole there, you know, people are gonna pull up and they're not gonna wanna open their doors into the telephone pole, so they're gonna get out the other side of the car, which is into Arlington Street. So the safety issues that you've already addressed.
And maybe it would be helpful if I give just a little bit of background as to why we're talking about this, you know, just to give a
It's
little
welcome
bit more
to.
context. So, at the end of Berkeley and Clarendon Streets, Glen Circle, and Glen Circle is, you know, you can see it in the top corner of that overall picture that Sergeant Sampson provided, which is a large paved area. It's part of town property, and many years ago, there was a council order to fence that off and not have access from that to Philipello Park. And without getting into all the history, to make a long story short, there was a gate there and a sidewalk provided to it. And so Glen Circle was used both for parking for that neighborhood as well as parking for the park and a drop-off and pickup for the park. So recently, the council subcommittee had some conversations about it. They asked us to look into half a dozen different ideas for ways to address some of the concerns of that neighborhood about the use of Glen Circle. And without boring you all to death with all those half a dozen ideas, long story short was that pretty much all those got rejected, and except for closing the gate. So the access from Glen Circle into the park is no longer available. As part of that conversation, the council also asked us, the Traffic Commission, to look at the viability of creating a drop-off on Arlington Street now that wouldn't be available at Glen Circle. So that's sort of why we're looking at it. And you're absolutely right, Chief, there really wasn't. Usually there's somebody with a proposal to say, here's where it is and how it should work, and we really didn't have that. So I think Sergeant Sampson's done a good job of finding the best viable alternative or option, and having said that, I don't disagree with some of the concerns that you've raised as well.
Okay, I mean, I think we all agree that that's probably a good location to have it, and I just like to maybe see a little more, and maybe we can work with the DPW and on a better design. I mean, I don't even know if you can, you know, cut into the park a little bit where you could just pull your car in. You know, I also noticed the other day in Newton, they put these little pylons on the street. I don't know, we haven't had those in Watertown, but even if we took a bit of the sidewalk in and maybe pyloned it off somehow, just, you know, I'm for the location, but I just can't sit there and say that's going to be a safe location. So I propose maybe we just kind of table this and maybe work with the DPW and others and see if we can come up with a better protected idea.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Does anyone? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Pete Santola, Director of Recreation, resident. As you know, I was fine with the previous drop-off point. I think the neighbors misrepresented the facts, and it was a very safe area for drop-off, and it was a very good area. And so I was disappointed that that gate was put in. I think we're kind of force-feeding this, you know, because we took away a drop-off, we're trying to find a drop-off. Arlington Street, you did your due diligence and found the best area. I don't think a drop-off on Arlington Street is good at all. And I think what's going to happen is something's going to happen seriously, and we're going to be responsible for it. So I wouldn't recommend it at all, and so that would be my piece. I'm not going to say the other things, but, I mean, unfortunately now, because you don't have a drop-off at Glen Circle, if I'm dropping off my child, I would just go to the Grove Street entrance and have them walk a little bit, which is not really good, because sometimes people are doing picnics. It's not just the athletes, it's the picnics, and they get to bring all this stuff all the way across the way. So that would be my feedback, and I appreciate the opportunity to mention it. Thanks.
Thanks. Anyone else want to speak? You just identify yourself, please.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Matt Lambo. I'm a Watertown resident and father of 3, and I use both the Arlington Street drop-off, the Grove Street, and previously used the Glen Circle drop-off. I was extremely disappointed that the council decided to create a barrier between a town park and a town parking lot for the use of a few local residents, and I spoke my piece. But I'm glad that you guys are addressing drop-off concerns, because it's serious concerns, and that Arlington Street Road is straight up dangerous to let your kid out. If you guys do create one on the northbound side, it's hard to access that. You'd have to be driving northbound or make an illegal turn or drive through Glen Circle to change direction. And the crosswalks aren't signaled, so when you drop off on the southbound side, you've got little kids trying to cross the street on their own. I think usually the easiest solution is, the most obvious solution is the easiest solution. We should try to find a way to open that gate so that Glen Circle parking lot can, I don't even want to park there. I just want to drop my kids off there, drop off the soccer bag, drop off the bench, so we can load our gear to coach and to play and to have picnics and birthday parties. So I hope the traffic commission can find a way to open that gate, both for drop-offs, also for pedestrians, for cyclists. The alternative is to drive all the way to the east side of town, and it takes a long time to even just drive those extra couple blocks. So I thank you guys for all your efforts, and I really appreciate looking into this, because it matters to myself and to the kids and the people of this town. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments?
My name is Carol Pennington, and I live on 13 Fifield Street. And when my kids were little, we went to that sprinkler park all the time. It's right inside the gate of Glen Circle, and I don't understand why there is a safe spot right there to drop your kids off, to park, to drop the kids off, where on Arlington Street, it just isn't a safe spot. And now they're even talking about kind of going into taking part of the park when there's already a safe spot to do it. I just think that gate should be open.
Thank you. Council Fellner?
Thank you. Excuse me. Lisa Feltner, District B Town Councilor. Just again, a little background. The reason why I voted present when the council voted is I felt I wanted more recommendations from staff. So I think you are in a difficult position being asked to make a decision without kind of looking at the full picture. And, we have a townwide bike pedestrian plan hopefully coming forward. And then with the potential new housing project at the corner of Arlington and Coolidge Hill Road, may be another concern. I certainly also empathize with the neighbors there if, they were there before the park was designed, and there was a recognition that there would be impacts living next to a big park, and I believe the sprinkler park went in later. So I'm just here to say that for those at home, I'm hearing all kinds of concerns, and I think town officials are listening and thinking about all the different pros and cons, and as our town grows, looking at those potential solutions. So thank you for your patience.
Okay, thanks. And I think a lot of the board is probably just hearing some of this for the first time, too, that I know this is a complex issue, so even more I'm inclined to just table this so we can have some more discussions and some more ideas. So thank you. Okay, item number 4 is a request by Sergeant Sampson of the Watertown Police Department to remove the handicap-only parking restriction in front of 41 Chapman Street from the traffic rules and orders. Sergeant Sampson.
Thank you, Chief. Similar to last month's meeting, we originally approved a handicap-only parking space in front of 41 Chapman Street. That was back in February 2016. I spoke personally to the requester. They no longer live there, and the new people are asking for that sign to be removed. I've already spoken to the DPW about it. I'm just requesting to have that removed from our documents.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I motion to remove the sign at 41 Chapman Street.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 5 is any new business? For the audience? Okay, hearing that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.